Awesome. Well, we are going to get started, but keep adding your introductions in the chat. Really excited to see you all. My name is Martha Snow, and I am the Director of Community Design at the Urban Design Forum, and really grateful for you all for joining us today. This information session is focused on our recent call for design, lighting, and legal technical assistance teams. We'll be hosting a similar information session for neighborhood partners and small bids to join the effort tomorrow. So if for whatever reason you got mixed up and that was the one you were hoping to join, feel free to join us tomorrow as well. So I'm going to share a little bit about what we're up to today. So I am going to share a few slides and give some basic information about the call and our program. I'll then open it up to you for questions. So I welcome folks to primarily submit questions through the Q&A box, but if for whatever reason that's causing you trouble, you can use the webinar chat as well, and then we'll work through those together. I will say we may not have time for all the questions or may not have all the answers for you today, but we're happy to follow up with folks individually. And we'll also be posting a recording of today's session along with a frequently asked questions document as they come in. So keep a lookout for those as well. All right, let's get started. So first, I just want to share for folks who may not be familiar with us a little bit about who we are. So Urban Design Forum, we are a membership organization of over 750 professionals in the fields of design, planning, engineering, advocacy, and more. And through our programs, we mobilize designers and policymakers to confront the defining issues in the built environment, grounded in the belief that designers should build with and not for historically disenfranchised communities. And we're really excited to be partnering through this program with the Association for Neighborhood and Housing Development, or ANHD, on this initiative. And for folks who may not be familiar with ANHD, they work to build community power to win affordable housing and thriving, equitable neighborhoods for all New Yorkers. And our organizations have come together to support new collaborations between designers and community development leaders to realize community-driven visions for public spaces in New York. As part of this program, we're thrilled to be collaborating with partners at the New York City Department of Small Business Services, NYC Department of Transportation, Office of the Chief Public Realm Officer, and the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Housing, Economic Development, and Workforce, and feel really thrilled to have close working relationships with folks in our city agencies who are often so instrumental in really defining our public realm. So really excited to be working with them closely as part of this work. Just quickly on the local center. So the local center connects neighborhood leaders, designers, and government agencies to transform public spaces across New York City. And we believe that every New York City neighborhood should have the power and resources to shape its own future. So I wanted to talk just quickly on why we're focusing these next set of local center projects on commercial corridors. So we really see commercial corridors as essential spines of New York City neighborhoods. They serve as engines for local economies. They bring together neighbors to build community cohesion. And as I'm sure many of you have seen over the last few years, New York City has really had some pretty amazing opportunities to invest in public space in recent years through programs like Open Streets and Open Restaurants. But often the improvements to these types of spaces and the opportunity to really think, do some forward thinking and think proactively about these spaces have been slower to reach low-income communities of color and disinvested neighborhoods. So we really aim to address that gap by providing seed funding, capacity building, and technical assistance to neighborhoods that haven't seen those investments, and working specifically with small bids who are focused on disinvested neighborhoods. Part of why we're working with bids is that we really see them as uniquely able to work within and outside of city government to champion their neighborhood's needs. And so through this program, we aim to support 3 small bids in historically underinvested neighborhoods to do 2 key things. The first is to develop public realm vision plans for the commercial corridors. And the second is to develop lighting installations that address immediate needs, foster safer public spaces, and demonstrate the power of their public space improvements. So over the course of 12 months, teams will lead engagement, develop ambitious but achievable vision plans, and produce lighting installations and other public realm pilots. So a little bit about how we work. So we invite neighborhood organizations to share their visions for public space. As I mentioned, we'll have an information session tomorrow as well, where neighborhood partners can learn about the opportunity to share their interest in being participating in this program. We will partner with 3 neighborhood organizations to provide funds, technical assistance, and capacity building. So those are our neighborhood partners at the center. And then we will build teams of designers, lighting designers, and lawyers, and other collaborators to support our partners in community engagement, visioning, and activation. So that's who we're calling our project team. As part of the program, I mentioned our awesome city agency partners will help teams and partners connect with relevant city agencies to support this work. An urban design forum and ANHD act as facilitators and connectors to support capacity building, cross-project learning, and longer-term advocacy and planning for these projects. UDF and ANHD support in helping you to meet as a cohort to solve problems, to workshop ideas, and to dream up how to build a more just and beautiful city. All right, so why would you want to join the local center? First, we offer meaningful local engagement. So these projects are a really meaningful opportunity for designers and design teams to create robust and enduring relationships with neighborhood leaders and to gain experience in community-led projects in public space across New York City. These are a really wonderful way to put your skills to work and to support locally driven visions for public space. We also create a learning community. So this project is an opportunity for you to join a cohort of collaborators, to workshop ideas, to share lessons learned, and to deepen your experience in public realm design, visioning, and planning, and to develop personal leadership skills. So we offer bi-monthly sessions to exchange ideas, learn from inspiring examples, and problem solve as a group, and to advance the practice of community-led design. We also offer firm visibility. So we offer ways to share your work through marquee events, media coverage, award submissions, and social media amplification. We'll create lots of ways to celebrate your collaborations and tell the stories of your projects along the way. We also offer project compensation and implementation funding. So each neighborhood partner through this program can provide $75,000 to support honoraria for their technical assistance team. And then we'll also be able to provide implementation funding of $50,000 to support installations and activations in the public realm. So a little bit about what we ask for of our technical assistance teams. The first is a commitment to community-driven practice. We really ask that teams work in solidarity with our partners in neighborhoods that have been historically underinvested and excluded from design and planning processes. So we really welcome teams that are dedicated to continuing learning, to active listening, and to develop designs that meaningfully respond to local needs. We also ask teams to offer committed project staff. So we ask teams to designate a project lead as the main person for each team, and that they commit to the duration of the 12-month timeline. And then the third is that we ask for active participation in the learning community. I mentioned it's a really wonderful opportunity to learn and to deepen your practice, but it's also really essential for the success of these projects. So we ask that teams commit to active participation. All right, so how can you get involved? So there are a few key ways we're excited to welcome design teams, lighting teams, and folks with legal expertise to contribute to these projects. So first up, I want to talk a little bit about design teams. So first, we're seeking qualifications from multidisciplinary design teams to support our neighborhood partners in developing vision plans that express their community goals for the future of their public spaces. And we see that these, to produce successful vision plans, we see a couple key areas that teams would be contributing. And those are community engagement, so supporting partners to execute inclusive community engagement, including program design, facilitation, and creation of approachable materials. Programming and schematic design, so producing the types of illustrations, site plans, and renderings that can support our partners in envisioning the future of their public realm. vision plan synthesis and creation. So one of the key deliverables of this program is a public space vision plan for our neighborhood partners. So really helping to get that over the finish line, documenting and synthesizing the project learnings and outcomes into a compelling publication that can be used by community partners. And the fourth is producing temporary demonstration activations and installations to help make the case for the vision that your partner is putting forth. So that's what we're looking for from design teams and the ways that you can support this work. Up next is lighting designers. So we're also really excited to be welcoming lighting designers to submit your interest in supporting these projects. In particular, lighting teams will help to support the partners in conceptualizing, designing, and implementing temporary lighting installations by June of 2023 in collaboration with the design team. We're excited to hear from lighting designers who might be interested in working closely with both the design team and the neighborhood partner in considering how lighting can play a catalytic effect in their public realm and how that will feed into their broader vision for their public realm. And finally, legal teams. So we recognize that it often takes interdisciplinary expertise to navigate the complex processes for creating and maintaining our public realm, and have found that bringing in legal experts to support on legal research, navigating city agency permits, and understanding the restrictions for public space use is really key for the success of these projects. So we're really excited to be welcoming interest from legal teams with expertise in land use and planning that can have a great role to play in supporting these projects' success as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about submission requirements. So for each of these separate calls, we are asking that teams submit in some key areas. So as you can see on our website, we're asking that teams submit a single PDF via a Google form. So you should see a link both for the design teams, the lighting teams, and the legal teams. Those are all separate Google forms. And they each have individual instructions about the specifics around what we're asking. But in general, we're looking for a few key things from teams. The first is to learn a little bit about your team, including naming your teams, if you're including multiple firms, who all your firms are, some details about your qualifications, so description of the responsibilities of individuals. And I will say here too that we welcome firms who are building their experience in public realm projects with a minimum of 1 to 2 years of project experience recommended. We also ask folks to respond to a few guiding questions on your approach. So for each of the calls, we have slightly separate questions you can see in the RFQs, but just to share them briefly, design teams, we're curious to hear your reflections on how you would approach a public space visioning process in an underinvested neighborhood and why you're interested in contributing to this initiative. Lighting designers, we're interested to hear about your approach in supporting a neighborhood partner and developing a responsive lighting installation. And legal teams, we're curious to hear from you how you would approach supporting a neighborhood partner in navigating complex legal questions around the public realm. We also ask teams to share related project experience, including descriptions and images of no more than 3 relevant projects, and to share references and additional information. All right, up next is eligibility. So we're really excited to welcome mission-driven architecture, landscape architecture, urban design, lighting design, and legal firms to participate in this effort. We do ask that respondents maintain an office or residency within New York City to participate. A lot of this work is going to be in person, and because we really believe in supporting our partners, in a really hands-on, meaningful way, we want to make sure that the teams are able to be responsive and are able to get to know the neighborhoods and communities that we're working with in a meaningful way. We also strongly encourage submissions from minority and women-owned business enterprises, worker cooperatives, emerging and BIPOC-led firms. And we encourage firms to nominate emerging BIPOC leaders and designers to lead these projects. We also welcome teams, partnerships, and joint ventures between multiple firms and individuals, and particularly encourage partnerships between larger design firms and emerging firms in this work. And I want to say too, if you are seeking collaborators, we have made a collaborators list that is a Google spreadsheet available on our website where you can add your information, add a little bit about the types of team members you're seeking, and hopefully find collaborators. So we know, I'm sure there are many awesome folks on our call who are part of the UDF network who may just be wondering, who else can I bring onto my team? Really encourage you to add your information to the collaborators list. And hopefully there are some folks there who you may want to work with. All right, I want to share a little bit about our selection process. So submissions will initially be reviewed by a review panel for eligibility and alignment with the program. Eligible submitters will have the chance to express your interest in working with specific neighborhood partners in November. So as I mentioned, because we have a simultaneous call out for neighborhood partners, we have not selected our 3 neighborhood partners yet, but we will have by November, and we'll give design teams a chance once we are able to publicize who has been selected, if you have a specific interest in working with specific neighborhood partners. Submissions will be ranked by neighborhood partners, and we'll invite top ranked teams to interview with neighborhood partners via Zoom the week of December 11th. So we really believe that and want to give our neighborhood partners key decision-making power in determining who they think is the best fit to be working with them on this project. So we are supporting them in interviewing and selecting their teams in November and December. All right, just a few key dates. I know this is all on our website, but I'm going to talk you through it just so you have a sense of where we're headed next. So after today's call, I'll welcome additional questions for folks today, and then feel free to email me if needed. I will synthesize those into an FAQ page to share with you. Our submission deadline is October 25th, so you've got a few weeks left to pull materials together. And as I mentioned, in November, submitters can express interest in neighborhood partners once they've been selected. The week of December 11th, we're asking that folks hold for partner and design team interviews, and we'll be able to offer notifications to design teams the next week, the week of December 18th. We are looking towards an orientation for the program at the end of January. So January 26th, we'll hold for an in-person all-day orientation. I will note that because we're eager to get these projects up and running, that we will host team kickoffs in advance of that January 26th date. So just keep that in mind, but we'll be in touch with submitters with more information about that. And then just looking ahead to the 12 months. So I mentioned a couple key milestones, but we're really imagining that teams will kind of break their work into 2 key sections. The first is from January to June. The key focus is really around community engagement to support the development of the vision plan and the lighting installation design. As I mentioned, the lighting installation will need to be completed by June 2024. So we'll be putting the lighting designers right to work. And that the team should look towards having a draft vision plan by June as well. And then really using the warm months of July through November to be getting feedback on the vision plan, additional community engagement, iterative process to finalize the vision plans by November of 2024 in time for a public program summit, which is an opportunity to share all your beautiful work and to work with your neighborhood partners to share with the audiences they're looking at. And then we support in the fall of next year in supporting our teams and neighborhood partners and thinking about the future of this work. So strategizing advocacy, public outreach, future fundraising opportunities. We really believe that's a collaborative effort, and we work to support both partners and teams in that work. All right, I think that is everything from my end. So I'm looking forward to hearing your questions. So as I mentioned, I think the best route is to offer your questions in the Q&A box. So please feel free to add your questions there. If it's not working for whatever reason, please feel free to add them in the webinar chat as well. And we will get started. I'm seeing a few questions coming in, and my colleague Catherine, who I didn't have a moment to introduce at the beginning, but who I know very kindly introduced herself in the webinar chat, is also going to be supporting us here, helping to field some of our questions. So we will start taking a look at your questions and start answering them.
Great, thanks, Martha. So maybe first up, we have a question about whether a collective of both lighting designers and environmental designers can apply as a design and lighting team together, or whether they need to keep separate.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Catherine. So yeah, we do welcome lighting designers and design teams to apply together. So the short answer is yes, you're welcome to apply together. They will be reviewed as a whole. All the kind of design and lighting teams will be reviewed as a whole. So you're welcome to apply together. And in that case, I would say, as you're thinking about submitting your materials, to still submit two full packets of materials, so you have the chance to share the materials you would like to share, but just note that you are submitting collaboratively. Thanks, Catherine.
Great. And then we have maybe a related question here about how lighting, design, and legal teams will be paired.
Yeah, sure. So we are also neighborhood partners will also be interviewing lighting designers and legal teams as well. So in a similar way that we're really offering to our neighborhood partners a chance to interview and have the chance to decide who the best fit will be for their work. The same goes for lighting and legal. Thanks for that, Catherine.
So we've got a bunch of questions here about the relationship between the design, lighting, and legal teams. Maybe let's go next to this question about the relationship between the teams. How connected will the lighting design work be to the design team's work?
Yeah. So we really see this as being integrally connected, and that the hope with this work, of course, developed in collaboration with your partner's vision, is that the lighting design is really a kind of one of the first demonstrations of some of the vision planning and visions that are coming out of the engagement with the design teams. I think in addition to the lighting installation, we'll be asking design teams to produce temporary installations or activations that further demonstrate elements of the vision plan to help make the case for these types of transformations, these types of community-led visions. So I think the lighting design is really the kind of first step there. So we hope that we'll ask lighting design teams and design teams to work really closely together, to be hearing from the neighborhood partner and to be synthesizing what comes out of the community engagement to understand how the lighting design project can work in close collaboration with the rest of the vision planning and activation work. Thanks for that question, though. It's a good one.
Great, thanks, Martha. We have a few questions about budget. So let's go first maybe to, will the 75K honoraria be split among the design, lighting, and legal teams? And if so, is the breakdown determined yet? We've got a few variations of this question in the Q&A box.
Yeah, thanks for that, Catherine. So we'll work with the design teams and the legal and lighting teams to determine the breakdown there, and with the partners as well. We're asking that each neighborhood partner can provide $75,000 to support honoraria to their technical assistance team as a whole, and we'll work with the partners to determine what they think the most reasonable breakdown is there.
Great. And then we also have a question about the implementation budget, if that is for both the lighting installation design and the eventual full design proposed.
Yeah. So it is the $50,000 implementation budget is for both. That encompasses, as I mentioned, the lighting installation as the kind of first of the activations. So the $50,000 budget will be to include both the lighting and other public space activations throughout the summer.
Great. We've got a question about how this round is connected to the city's commercial district lighting grant program.
Yeah. So we are a recipient of the city's commercial district lighting program grant. So that is part of where the funds for the lighting projects as part of this program are coming from. So with that in mind, I'll mention this on the call tomorrow as well, but we're not able to work with neighborhood partners who have received the commercial district neighborhood lighting grant because they will already have funds through SBS. But we really see, the kind of wonderful complement between thinking about transforming the lighting of a commercial corridor and supporting the more holistic community-driven vision planning. So that's part of our collaboration with SBS, and really see them as aligned goals. So that's a little bit about how it's connected. Thanks for that.
Let's see, we had a question earlier about whether there is an opportunity to join a team made up of individuals who are interested in our joining as a firm design team.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that would, it's definitely welcome, kind of collectives or groups of individuals to apply if you think that your skill sets match the type of work we're hoping to be supporting the neighborhood partners with. I think the best place to connect with others, if you're looking for it, is the collaborators list. If you're looking for individual additional folks to join your team, but you are welcome to submit as a collective. You don't have to be representing a firm. Yeah, thanks for that.
And then we have a question about whether it's possible to choose to work with a particular bid if they applied.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're in the process of hearing interest from bids now. We'll have 3 partners selected by November, and then we'll share those partners out with design teams. We'll give design teams a chance to share preference, so share a particular interest in working with teams. That won't necessarily be you're guaranteed to work with that team, but we really want to hear from design teams. For example, if you have relevant experience in that neighborhood, if you're local to that neighborhood, all things to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, we are giving the decision-making power to our neighborhood partners, to our bids in terms of the end choice of who they want to work with. But I think I'm sure they would be responsive to hearing folks' interest in working with them particularly. So that's why we're offering the design teams the opportunity to share interest.
Great. So we're getting down to our last couple of questions that we currently have in the Q&A box. So if you're here and you have a burning question in your back pocket, now's a chance to get it in. We have a question about whether new firms with international relevant experience will be eligible for the project.
Sure. Yeah, so we in the materials that we ask folks to submit, we I think we'll welcome a range, you to demonstrate a range of experience. So if some of those experiences include international experience, we definitely welcome you to include them as part of your project experience. And again, the review panel and the partners will, at the end of the day, have the decision in terms of thinking about who is the best fit for their work. So definitely welcome you to share international relevant experience as it's useful, and also local experience as it's useful.
Great.
Thanks for that question.
Is labor included in the installation budget?
Yeah, great question. So we ask design teams to basically kind of manage their time based on the honorarium that we're able to provide, and recognize that that may include bringing in additional support, whether that's a fabricator or an engineer, and kind of managing their budget as a whole accordingly. I will say too that we have a pretty wonderful, generous network as part of UDF, and have had instances where fabricators or engineers are happy to offer, some pro bono support around projects like these. So part of our role as facilitators and connectors is to help teams connect to resources as that's available. But we also know that many of you have awesome networks and resources as well. But we do ask that the teams and the partners manage that budget as a whole and include labor as needed into that budget. Thanks for that.
And just as a clarification here, is it one lighting design legal team per bid, or is it one team for all three?
Great question. Yeah, so it is one design team with support from lighting and legal for each bid. So each bid will have its distinct team. We do welcome lighting designers and legal experts. If you're interested to support across multiple teams, you're welcome to submit and just make that clear in your materials. That will mean that, if you're interested in supporting across multiple teams and if you were selected, that would mean, working with distinct design teams and multiple bids. So just welcome folks to kind of consider that as you are thinking about your capacity and the kind of the way that you want to be supporting this work. But the short answer is 3 distinct teams for 3 distinct partners, and that will be coming together as part of the learning community, as I mentioned, to be learning from each other's projects, to help troubleshoot challenges, to celebrate successes, to workshop ideas about process and about ways to be doing this work better. So the teams will be distinct, but they'll have opportunities to learn from each other and to connect. And I will say too, I'm sure many of you know, we have 5 additional local center projects that are already up and running with a focus on culture and heritage in public space. And we're really excited to connect the 2 cohorts, the cohort focused on commercial corridors and on culture and heritage, to be learning from each other as well. So that's one of the other benefits of this work, is you get to join a bigger community thinking about the future of our public space and how to be supporting community-driven visions for it. Thank you for that question.
Great. When we select the bids, will we also know specifics on what they'll be interested in including in their vision plans?
Yeah, so we are asking bids to offer us initial ideas about what they're interested in doing, but we do recognize that some of them may not have had the resources or capacity to be doing the type of deep community engagement to really surface the visions that are coming from their community yet. So I think we'll have some initial ideas, but the real focus of that first 6 months of the work is to be supporting with the resources and tools the partners in really kind of uncovering and more deeply defining that. So may have some initial ideas, but that's part of the beautiful work that the design teams would get to undertake and support.
And then we have a question about whether there's a selection criteria or scoring rubric that the selection committee will use based on the fact that they're hearing a preference for emerging teams, by-compact teams, locally based teams, and wondering if that will weigh in the selection process.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm happy to share some of the selection criteria in our frequently asked questions that will come out soon. But I'm just noting, I'm seeing the preference for emerging teams, BIPOC, locally based, et cetera. I think I'd would love to be able to kind of synthesize that and share back in frequently asked questions. But really appreciate that question, and just want to make sure that I have a chance to have looked back at our materials and share accurately with you. So I'll keep an eye out for that in our FAQs, but thanks for that, and happy to share that forthcoming.
Great. And then maybe last question, possibly, are all of the neighborhood partners official bids?
Yeah, so we are going to be working with all small bids, so bids that are valued at less than $600,000 and who are working in low-income neighborhoods that have faced historic disinvestment. But they are, for this round, they are all official bids. I think in future work, we hope to expand to working with merchant organizations or other types of groups that may maybe less formally organized, but for this round, we'll be focusing on bids.
Awesome. And where should people reach out to if they have more questions, Martha?
Yeah, great question. So you are welcome to shoot me an email directly. My email is martha@urbandesignforum.org. I will put that quickly up on the page so that you can see if you would like. We will also be posting our FAQs, as I mentioned, in the next week, and excited to offer more in-depth answers to any of these questions. And we'll also be, tomorrow, we will be doing a info session for the neighborhood partners, and we'll be posting the recording of that conversation as well, if you're curious to hear more about the process for selecting the bids that we'll be working with. But we'll also be posting a recording of this conversation on our website. Awesome. All right, any more questions, Catherine? I'm just doing a quick check on our chat. Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate everybody's time today, and I hope many of you submit your interests. This is a really great project, and we're really excited to bring more folks into the fold in supporting community-driven visions for public space across New York City. So big thanks to all of you for showing up during what I'm sure is your lunch hour on a Wednesday, and we'll look forward to seeing many of you soon. All right. Thank you so much.